2 weeks ago, my father stood in front of 55 people, relatives and family friends, and half the partners from his law firm, and raised a glass of champagne at my graduation party. He was not looking at me. He was looking at my 19-year-old sister when he said the words that still ring in my ears. "I wish it were you holding that diploma tonight, Sienna. You are the only child who has ever truly made me proud." My mother nodded along. Nobody objected. Nobody so much as glanced in my direction. I sat at a table near the back of my own celebration and felt myself disappear one more time. But here is the thing. I left that room a different person than I walked into it, and 2 weeks later, they are all still reeling from what happened next. So, if you have ever been the invisible one in your own family, the child whose name gets left off the banner, stay with me, because this is the night I stopped waiting to be seen. My name is Cassidy Beckett. I am 22 years old, and I am a nurse. In my family, that sentence is practically a confession. Let me introduce you to the Becketts. My father, Everett Beckett, is a senior partner at one of the most respected law firms in the state, the kind of man who can silence a courtroom by clearing his throat. My mother, Priscilla, comes from 3 generations of attorneys, a lineage she wears like a string of pearls. And my little sister, Sienna, is 19, just finished her first year of pre-law. And she is the son my parents orbit. Then there is me, the one who chose nursing, the one who broke the tradition. The black sheep? Though in my family, the word they actually used was disappointment, just never quite to my face. I still remember the day I told them, 4 years ago. I was 18 and shaking with excitement because I had gotten into the nursing program. My father looked at me the way you look at a joke that is not funny. "Nursing," he said, and set his whiskey down. "You want to spend your life as a servant to doctors?" My mother sighed the particular sigh she has been sighing at me my whole life. "Our family has been in law for 3 generations, she said. "You are the first one to break the chain." I tried to explain. I told them I wanted to be there for people in the most frightening moments of their lives, to actually make a difference in a way I could touch. They did not hear a single word. From that day on, every phone call home was about Sienna. Sienna's grades, Sienna's internship applications, Sienna's bright and shining future. Meanwhile, I graduated top of my nursing class. I worked double shifts to pay my own tuition. I collected commendation after commendation from my professors. Not once did my parents ask how I was doing. Not once did they come to a single ceremony, a single pinning, a single anything. But there was one person in my family who never missed a beat. Someone who called every Sunday, without fail. Someone who remembered every exam, every clinical rotation, every small victory. I was too tired to celebrate myself. Someone my father had looked down on for as long as I had been alive. And that person was about to change my entire life. 2 months before graduation, an email arrived from my mother. No greeting. No how are you. Just logistics. Your graduation party will be held at the Bellwether at 7 o'clock on Saturday. Your father has finalized the guest list. You do not need to worry about a thing. I read it 3 times. My graduation party, planned start to finish without me. Then I opened the guest list attachment, and my stomach dropped. 55 names. I recognized maybe 10 of them, relatives I saw once every few years. The rest were my father's colleagues, his business associates, partners from the firm, even a handful of my sister's sorority friends. But my people, my nursing professors, my friends, the colleagues from the hospital where I had done my clinical hours, not one of them made the list. I called my mother right away. "Mom, can I invite a few of my own people?" Professor Odom mentored me for 2 years, and my friend Dahlia. Her voice went patient, the tone you use with a slow child. "Cassidy, this is an opportunity for our family to make an impression. Your friends, they would not really fit in." The words landed like a slap. "Would not fit in." "You know what I mean," she said. "The partners' wives will be there. We need the right atmosphere." I hung up without saying goodbye. That night, I looked at the invitation card she had mailed me for my records, and my hands actually shook. "Celebrating the Beckett family," it read, in elegant gold script. Not celebrating Cassidy Beckett. Not Cassidy's graduation, just the family. I was a footnote in my own story, and I did not yet understand how right I was. I could not sleep. I lay in my tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling, running through 4 years of memories. 4 years of swallowing my pride. 4 years of telling myself the same lie. That when they finally saw me succeed, they would come around. But the truth was getting impossible to ignore. The quieter I stayed, the more invisible I became. If I let this party happen the way they had designed it, if I smiled and nodded while they paraded my sister around like a trophy, I would become the failed daughter in the eyes of everyone who mattered to them. Every late night, Every patient I had held through the worst hour of their life, every perfect score, all of it erased. I looked at my diploma on the wall. Top of my class, a piece of paper that had cost me 4 years of no vacations, no social life, no rest. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I ignored it. Too tired for a telemarketer. Then a voicemail notification appeared, and something made me listen. Hello, this is a message for Cassidy Beckett. This is the office of Kingsbridge Memorial Hospital. We have some important news we would like to share with you in person. Please call us back at your earliest convenience. Kingsbridge Memorial, the most prestigious hospital in the state. The place where landing an interview was nearly impossible, let alone anything more. I called back immediately, but the office had closed for the evening. Dr. Hartley will be available in the morning, the service told me. Dr. Hartley, the director of recruitment himself. What could possibly be so important that he needed to say it to my face? I did not sleep at all that night. The next morning, I called the one person who had never once let me down. Cassidy, sweetheart, my grandmother said, and her voice was warm as a patch of sun. I was just thinking about you. How are the party preparations coming along? I told her everything. The guest list I had no say in, the invitation that erased my name, the feeling of being a stranger at my own celebration. There was a long silence on the other end. Did your father invite me? She finally asked. I hesitated. I am not sure, Grandma. I see, she said, and her tone hardened just slightly. Well, I will be there regardless, invited or not. Grandma, I do not want to cause trouble. Trouble, she laughed softly. Sweetheart, I spent 40 years as a nurse. I stared down surgeons who thought they were gods and administrators who thought they owned me. Your father's disapproval does not frighten me in the least. Cassidy, she said, and her voice gentled again. Listen to me. Titles do not measure a life. The people you carry through their worst nights do. I know exactly what you have accomplished, and I am proud enough of you to make up for every last one of them. I felt tears sting my eyes. At least someone was in my corner. Oh, and by the way, she added, lighter now. I ran into Dr. Hartley last week, the recruitment director over at Kingsbridge Memorial. Do you remember him? My heart skipped. You know Dr. Hartley? We served on the Community Health Foundation board together for 16 years, she said. He brought up your name, said some very impressive things. What things? I asked. What did he say? Call him back, sweetheart, she said. I think you will want to hear it from him directly. And she hung up before I could ask a single question more. What on earth had my grandmother told that man about me? 3 days before the party, I drove to my parents' house. I found my father in his study, reviewing case files. He did not look up when I came in. Dad, can we talk about the party? He kept reading. What about it? I would like to invite a few people. Professor Odom, some friends from the hospital. No, he said, and turned a page. The list is finalized. Dad, this is my graduation party. He looked up then, and his eyes were cool, assessing. This is a Beckett family event. I just want my mentor there, I said. She guided me for 2 years. A nursing professor, he said, and actually laughed. What would my colleagues think? They would think I was well educated, I said. They would think this family has one child who could not keep up. The words hit like a fist. I steadied myself against the doorframe. Dad, I graduated top of my class. In nursing, Cassidy, he said, like the word itself was something stuck to his shoe. Your sister is going to Harvard Law. Do you understand what that means for this family? I thought this party was about my graduation. He set his papers down and looked at me fully, and what I saw in his face was not anger. It was worse. It was complete indifference. I have already told everyone that we will be announcing Sienna's Harvard acceptance, he said. This party is the perfect occasion for it. He picked his pen back up. You just need to show up, smile, and try not to draw too much attention to yourself. I stood frozen. Try not to draw too much attention to yourself. At my own graduation party. I understand, I said quietly, but I was lying. For the first time in my life, I was lying to my father, and it felt like the first honest thing I had done in years. I found my mother in the kitchen arranging flowers for the centerpieces. Mom, I need your help, I said. She did not stop arranging. With what, dear? Talk to Dad about the party. About making it actually about my graduation. Cassidy, she sighed. I do not want to create conflict. You would be standing up for me, I said. I would be disrupting the family's harmony, she said by taking sides. And she finally looked at me with the same patient, faintly tired expression she had worn my entire life. Sweetheart, you have always been so sensitive. Your father means well. He just shows it differently. He said he wished Sienna had my diploma, Mom. He is celebrating both of you. He turned my graduation into her announcement party. You must have misheard him. I was standing right there, I said. For one moment, just one, I thought I saw something flicker behind her eyes. Guilt, recognition, Then it was gone. Your father has worked very hard to build this family's reputation, she said, picking up another rose. The least we can do is support his vision. Even if his vision erases me, I said. Silence. You are choosing a side, Mom. I am keeping the peace, she said. Her hands were perfectly steady. You have always been too dramatic, Cassidy. Just like your grandmother. I left without another word. That evening the email arrived that changed everything. The subject line read, "Formal offer of employment. Kingsbridge Memorial Hospital." I opened it with trembling fingers. They were offering me a position in their emergency department. Not just any position, the single most competitive nursing role in the entire hospital, the one hundreds of graduates chased every year, and almost none of them got. The starting salary made my jaw drop, $82,000. I had done my homework. First-year associates at my father's firm started at 68, but it was the next paragraph that truly stopped my breath. We would like to present this offer formally at a significant event in your life to honor your exceptional achievements. Please let us know if there is an upcoming occasion where this would be appropriate. They wanted to make it public. A ceremony, a moment. I looked at the invitation card on my desk, celebrating the Beckett family in that smug gold script, and a thought began to form, dangerous and audacious. What if I gave my parents exactly the audience they wanted? Then I scrolled to the bottom, and there was a postscript that made my chest go tight. It read, "Mrs. Adelaide Fairbanks brought you to our attention. She described you as the most exceptional nursing student she has seen in her 40 years in the profession. Grandma, she had not just mentioned my name. She had advocated for me, used decades of hard-earned credibility to open a door, and then she had said nothing about it at all." I did not answer the email that night. I needed to think. My family wanted to use my party to shrink me down to nothing. Maybe it was finally time to let them see exactly who they had been ignoring. I drove to my grandmother's house the next morning. She was waiting on the porch with the tea already poured, as if she had known I was coming. She probably had. She always seemed to. "You got the email," she said. "Not a question." "Why did you not tell me?" I asked. She smiled and stirred her tea, because it was not my achievement to announce. "I told Dr. Hartley the truth, and nothing more. Everything else you earned yourself." I sat down beside her. "Grandma, tell me about Dad, about why he is the way he is." Her smile faded. "Your father came from nothing, Cassidy. Worked his way through law school on scholarships and spite. And when he married your mother, he married into 3 generations of legal prestige." She paused. "The first time he met me, he looked at my nurse's uniform and said he hoped my daughter would have a better life than I did. Said it to my face at their engagement dinner." She shrugged. "I have never been someone worth impressing in his eyes. Just the mother-in-law who waits on doctors. But you have done so much," I said. "The foundation, the scholarships, the community health clinics. None of it needing a law degree." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "Your father measures worth in titles and prestige," she said. "People like us measure it in lives touched. Titles do not measure a life, sweetheart. The people you carry do." Then she stood, went inside, and came back holding an envelope. "This came for you last month," she said. "I have been waiting for the right moment." I opened it. A letter from Dean Abernathy of the School of Nursing. A formal commendation for academic excellence and a nomination for the Future Healthcare Leaders Program, reserved for the top 1% of nursing graduates in the country. "You do not need your parents' recognition, sweetheart," my grandmother said, and her eyes were fierce. "But if they insist on looking, let us give them something worth seeing." That afternoon, I called Dr. Hartley. His voice was warm and unhurried. "Cassidy," he said, "I am so glad you reached out. Did you receive our offer?" "I did," I said. "I am honored, truly." "The honor is ours," he said. "Your clinical evaluations were exceptional. Your professors could not say enough." I took a deep breath. "Dr. Hartley, about that formal presentation you mentioned?" "Yes," he said. "I have an event this Saturday," I said. "My graduation party at the Bellwether." "That sounds perfect," he said. "A celebration of your achievement." I hesitated. "It is complicated," I said. "My family does not exactly understand the value of nursing." A pause, and then his tone shifted, became knowing. "Mrs. Fairbanks mentioned something along those lines," he said. "Your family is full of lawyers, I understand." 3 generations of them," I said. "Well," he said, and I could hear the smile through the phone. "Then I suppose we will simply have to show them what a real achievement looks like. I will bring the formal offer and a small surprise." "What kind of surprise?" I asked. "You will see," he said. "Trust me, Cassidy. Saturday will be memorable." After I hung up, I sat in silence a long time. I had not told my grandmother my plan. I had not told anyone. This was my choice, my moment. My whole life I had tried to earn my family's respect by staying small, by being quiet, by hoping they would eventually turn and see me. They never had. Maybe it was time to stop waiting. I looked at my reflection in the window. 22 years old, top of my class, a job offer that would make lawyers jealous, and a family who thought I was nothing. One of those things was about to change. The bellwether was even grander than I remembered. Crystal chandeliers threw golden light across white linen. Fresh roses on every surface. Waitstaff in black moving silent as shadows, filling champagne glasses, adjusting silverware. 55 guests, easily. I scanned the room and recognized maybe a dozen faces, distant aunts, cousins I saw once every few years. The rest were strangers in expensive suits, my father's colleagues and their wives. I arrived at exactly 7. My father was at the entrance shaking hands with a silver-haired man I did not know. "Everett, congratulations," the man was saying. "Big occasion for your family." "Thank you, Reginald," my father said. "Big things ahead." He noticed me approaching and gave me a brief nod, nothing more, then turned back to the man as if I were just another passing server. My mother was near the head table, fussing over Sienna's dress, a gorgeous emerald gown that cost more than my rent. I was wearing a navy cocktail dress I had bought with 3 weeks of overtime. "Cassidy, there you are," my mother said, barely glancing up. "You are at table 9, near the back." "Near the back," I repeated. "The front tables are for your father's partners," she said, smoothing my sister's collar. "You understand?" I understood perfectly. I walked to table 9, found my little name card, and looked up at the banner stretched across the main wall. Celebrating the Beckett family in elegant gold. No mention of graduation. No mention of me. I was a guest at my own party, a backdrop for someone else's announcement. But they did not know I had brought guests of my own. At 7:15, the doors opened, and my grandmother walked in like she owned the building. She wore a navy suit that probably cost more than my father's, her silver hair styled to perfection, her posture ramrod straight. At 79, she still commanded a room without saying a word. My father's face went pale. "Adelaide," he said, stepping forward to block her path. "I do not recall sending you an invitation." She smiled, and it was not a warm smile. "I am here for my granddaughter's graduation," she said. "I do not need your invitation, Everett. This is a private family event." "Yes," she said, stepping around him without effort. "I am family, whether you like it or not." My mother rushed over, heels clicking urgently across the marble. "Mother, please let us not make a scene." "I am not making a scene, Priscilla," my grandmother said. "I am simply attending." Her eyes swept the room. "Where is Cassidy seated?" "Oh, table 9, near the back," she said, finding it. How appropriate. Several guests had stopped talking to watch. My father laughed, too loud. "My mother-in-law, everyone," he announced. Always a touch dramatic. My grandmother did not so much as look at him. She walked straight to me with her arms open. "There is my girl." I hugged her tight, fighting back tears. "I have a surprise, Grandma," I whispered. She pulled back, her eyes twinkling. "I know, sweetheart," she said. "I have one too." Before I could ask what she meant, a server announced that dinner would begin, and my father was already working the crowd, charming his partners with that practiced smile, with no idea at all what was coming. Neither did I, not entirely. But I was about to find out. After dinner, my father stood and tapped his glass, and the room went quiet. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he said, his voice carrying with the ease of a man who had spent decades performing for juries. "We are gathered to celebrate our family." A small pause. I noticed he did not say my name. As many of you know, the Beckett family has a proud tradition in law. 3 generations of attorneys, and soon to be 4. He turned toward my sister, who was glowing at the head table. "I want to raise a glass to the future," he said. "To my youngest daughter, Sienna, who has just been accepted to Harvard Law." Applause rippled through the room. My mother nodded proudly. And then my father, his eyes still fixed on Sienna, said it. "I wish," he paused for effect. "I truly wish that Sienna were the one holding a diploma tonight. She is the only child who has ever truly made me proud." More applause, quieter this time. I saw several guests trade uncomfortable glances. My mother kept nodding along, smiling. Nobody looked at me. I sat frozen at table 9, feeling every gaze that deliberately slid past mine, the pity from the few relatives who bothered, the indifference from the rest. Even Sienna was still smiling, though something flickered across her face, a flash of discomfort, maybe even guilt, before it was gone. My father raised his glass higher. "To the Beckett family," he said. "To our brightest star, Sienna." Everyone drank. I did not touch my glass, and then my grandmother stood up. The room went silent again, and I understood that this was the moment everything would turn. "Everett," she said, and her voice cut through the quiet like a scalpel. "I believe you have forgotten something important." My father's smile tightened. Adelaide, this really is not the time. This is exactly the time, she said, and she stepped away from the table toward the center of the room. You just gave a toast at your daughter's graduation party, and you did not mention her once. Murmurs moved through the crowd. I mentioned the family, my father said. You wished a different child were holding the diploma, she said, calm and razor sharp. At the party for the child who actually earned it. Adelaide, you are embarrassing yourself. No, Everett, she said. You have been doing that for years. Gasps from several tables. I saw his colleagues lean in, suddenly very interested. This is a family matter, my mother said, standing. We should not air private issues in public. Private? My grandmother laughed softly. You planned a public party to announce one daughter's college acceptance at the other daughter's graduation. You put her at the back table. You did not even put her name on the banner. She gestured at the gold lettering. There is nothing private about this humiliation. My father's face was going red. I have had enough of this, he said. Adelaide, sit down or leave. I will do neither, she said. The room was utterly still. 55 people watching, waiting, and then the doors opened. A man walked in, mid-40s, distinguished, gray at the temples, an expensive suit, a large envelope in his hand. He walked directly toward me. My apologies for arriving late, he said, loud enough for the whole room to hear. I have urgent business with Miss Cassidy Beckett. My father frowned. And who exactly are you? The man smiled. I am Dr. Gideon Hartley, Director of Recruitment at Kingsbridge Memorial Hospital. The room went completely silent. Dr. Hartley walked past my father without a glance and stopped in front of my table. Miss Beckett, he said, extending his hand. It is an honor to meet you in person. I stood, shaking his hand, my legs unsteady. Dr. Hartley, I did not expect. I wanted to deliver this personally, he said, and held up the envelope. May I? I nodded. He drew out an official document on hospital letterhead, then turned to face the room. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for interrupting, but I have an announcement that could not wait. My father stepped forward. Now, wait just a minute. Cassidy Beckett, Dr. Hartley continued, ignoring him entirely, graduated top of her class from the School of Nursing. Her clinical evaluations were the highest we have seen in 16 years. He held up the letter. Kingsbridge Memorial Hospital is honored to offer her a position in our emergency department, effective immediately, at a starting salary of $82,000 a year. Audible gasps from multiple tables. I heard someone whisper, $82,000 for a nurse? Dr. Hartley smiled. For an exceptional nurse, he said. And to put that in perspective, most first-year attorneys at top firms in this state start at 68. He looked directly at my father. If anyone cares to compare. The silence was deafening. My father's face had gone from red to white. My mother's hand was pressed to her mouth. At the head table, Sienna was staring at me with wide eyes, and it was not jealousy. It was surprise. Real surprise. Dr. Hartley handed me the letter. Congratulations, Cassidy, he said. You earned this. Thank you, I managed. But he was not finished. There is one more thing, he said. The small surprise I promised. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a second envelope. This is a letter from Dean Abernathy of the School of Nursing. It was addressed to Cassidy, but given the occasion, I thought I would share a portion. He unfolded it and read, Cassidy Beckett is the most exceptional nursing student we have trained in the past 17 years. She achieved not only perfect academic marks, but demonstrated compassion and professionalism that exceeded every expectation during her clinical rotations. We are proud to nominate her for the Future Healthcare Leaders Program, reserved for the top 1% of healthcare graduates in the nation. He looked up. The top 1%, he said, in the country. Applause erupted, not polite applause, genuine, startled, enthusiastic applause. I saw my father's colleagues nodding, turning to look at me with new eyes. My goodness, I heard a woman say. Everett, you never told us she was this accomplished. My father opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Dr. Hartley folded the letter and pressed it into my hands. Your grandmother was right about you, Cassidy, he said. Every word. And my grandmother stepped forward, her chin high. For those of you wondering, she announced, her voice carrying across the room, I am the one who introduced Cassidy to Kingsbridge Memorial. I spent 40 years as a nurse, building relationships that my son-in-law here has never once respected. She smiled. It turns out that being a servant to doctors has its advantages after all. My father looked like he had been struck. My mother sank into her chair, and Sienna was staring at me with an expression I had never seen on her before. Not pity, not envy, something closer to respect. The room was still buzzing when I stood up. 55 pairs of eyes turned to me and waited. My whole life I had avoided this exact moment, staying quiet, staying small, hoping that if I just worked hard enough, they would eventually see me. They never had, so I stopped waiting. "Thank you, Dr. Hartley," I said, and my voice was steadier than I expected. "Thank you, Grandma." Then I turned to face the room, to face my parents. "I spent 4 years trying to prove I was worthy of this family," I said. "I worked double shifts. I never asked for help. I graduated at the top of my class." I paused, and tonight I finally understood something. "I do not need to prove anything to anyone," my father started to speak. "Cassidy, you misunderstand." "I understand perfectly, Dad," I said. I did not raise my voice. I did not need to. "You wanted to use my graduation to announce Sienna's acceptance. You wished she had my diploma. You seated me at the back." I gestured at the banner. "You did not even put my name up there." The silence was absolute. "I am not angry," I said, and I meant it. The anger had burned away and left something cleaner behind. "I am just done waiting, done hoping, done pretending you will change." I picked up Dr. Hartley's letter. "From tonight, I am drawing a new line. I will not beg to be loved anymore. I will spend my energy on the people who actually value me." I looked at my grandmother. Her eyes were shining. Then I looked back at my parents. "I am not asking for an apology," I said. "I am just letting you know that things will be different now." My father found his voice. "Cassidy, let us discuss this privately." "No," I said, and I smiled. "I think we are done discussing." His face cycled through shock, then anger, then something that looked almost like panic. "Cassidy, you are being dramatic," he said, forcing a laugh and glancing at his colleagues. "You know how it is. Family misunderstandings." "This was not a misunderstanding, Dad," I said, calm. "You wished my sister had my diploma in front of 55 people." "I was making a toast to someone else," he said. And then a man stood from one of the front tables, the silver-haired partner from the door. "Everett," he said, quiet but firm, "I think your daughter deserves an apology." Heads nodded around the room. My father's laugh died in his throat. "Reginald, this is a family matter. You made it public when you gave that toast," the man said. Then he looked at me with something like respect. "Young lady, congratulations on your achievements. That is genuinely impressive." "Thank you, sir," I said. My father was losing the room, and I could see the exact moment he realized it. "Everyone, please," my mother said, standing, her voice strained. "This is between our family." "Priscilla," my grandmother said, cutting through, "for once in your life, be quiet. You have stayed silent in the wrong moments for far too long." My mother's mouth fell open. My father looked around at the partners and colleagues, whose opinions he had spent decades cultivating, and every one of them was watching him with new eyes. He swallowed hard. I do not know what to say. For the first time in my life, Everett Beckett was speechless, and I realized that was enough. I did not need him on his knees. I just needed to stop kneeling myself. The party dissolved quickly after that. Guests made polite excuses and drifted toward the exits. I stood near the door, accepting congratulations from people who had ignored me an hour before. And I caught fragments of conversation I was not meant to hear. 2 of my father's colleagues lingered by the coat check. I had no idea Everett was like that with his own daughter. $82,000 for a brand new nurse. My son finished law school last year, and he is making $64,000. Did you see Everett's face when the hospital director walked in? Makes you wonder what else we do not know about the man. I watched my father stand alone in the corner of the emptying room. No one approached him. The partners who usually circled him kept their distance. My mother was frantically gathering her things, avoiding everyone's eyes. The silver-haired partner stopped beside me on his way out. "Miss Beckett," he said, and pulled a business card from his wallet. "If you ever need anything, a reference, a recommendation, some advice, do not hesitate to call." "Thank you, sir," I said. "Your father is a skilled attorney," he said, and paused. "But tonight I learned something about his character I rather wish I had not. Good luck to you." He shook my hand and left. Across the room, Sienna was still at the head table, alone now, watching me, not with anger, not with jealousy, but with something like confusion, as if she were seeing me for the first time. Our eyes held for a long moment. Then she stood and walked toward me, and I braced myself for whatever was coming. She stopped in front of me, her emerald gown suddenly too bright under the dimming lights. "Cassidy," she said, hesitant. "Are you okay?" I almost laughed. "Are you seriously asking me that?" She bit her lip. "I did not know it was this bad." "How could you not know?" I asked. She looked down. "I guess I thought this was just how our family worked. Dad talks about me. Mom focuses on me. And you," she trailed off. "I stay invisible," I said. "I never thought of it that way," she said, and when she looked up, her eyes were glistening. "I just thought you were quiet, that you did not want the attention." "I wanted it, Sienna," I said. "I just learned a long time ago that I would never get it." We stood in silence while the staff cleared tables around us. I am sorry, she said, and her voice cracked. I know it does not fix anything, but I am. You do not have to apologize for Mom and Dad, I said. I am not, she said. I am apologizing for me, for never asking, for never noticing, she wiped her eyes, for just accepting the way things were. And something shifted in my chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something softer than the wall I had spent 4 years building. You were 19, I said. You still are. You did not create this, but I benefited from it, she said. Yes, I said. You did, she nodded slowly. What happens now with us? I thought about it carefully. You are my sister, I said. That does not change. But whatever we rebuild has to be built on respect, not on whatever this has been. I want that, she said, her voice small but sincere. I want to actually know you. Then start by seeing me, I said. Not as a comparison, just as me. She nodded again. It was not much, but it was a beginning. 2 weeks after the party, my grandmother called with news. Your father is having a hard time at the firm, she said. I was in my new apartment, unpacking boxes. What do you mean? I asked. Reginald told a few of the other partners about that night, she said. The story spread. She paused. Apparently, several clients have asked to work with different attorneys. They are not leaving the firm, but they have made it clear they prefer to work with people of better character, as one of them put it. I sat down on an unopened box. I was not sure how to feel. He is not being fired, my grandmother went on. But his reputation took a hit. The golden image has some tarnish on it now. I did not want that, I said. You did not cause it, sweetheart, she said. He did. You simply stopped covering for him. That afternoon, my mother called for the first time since the party. Cassidy, she said, her voice tight. We need to talk about your father's colleagues. They keep asking about you, bringing up that night. It is affecting his work. That is not my fault, Mom, I said. You could speak to Reginald, she said. Explain that your father did not mean. Did not mean what, I said. To humiliate me? To wish Sienna had my accomplishments? To seat me at the back of my own party? Silence. I cannot control what people think about Dad, I said quietly. That is the consequence of his actions, not mine, Cassidy, she said. I am not going to clean up his mess anymore, Mom, I said. Not ever again. And I hung up. For years, I had protected this family's image by staying quiet, accepting less, making myself small. Those days were over. The consequences of their choices belonged to them now. My first day at Kingsbridge Memorial, I stood outside the emergency department doors for a full minute, just breathing, just taking it in. The badge clipped to my scrubs read, Cassidy Beckett, registered nurse, my name, my title, my achievement, and no one else's. Ready for your first shift? Dr. Hartley appeared beside me, smiling. More than ready, I said. Good, he said, because the emergency room waits for no one. Inside was controlled chaos, exactly what I had trained for. Monitors beeping, nurses calling out vitals, doctors moving with purpose. I was assigned to a veteran nurse named Wanda for my first week. She showed me the systems, the shortcuts, the unwritten rules that kept the whole department running. You are good, she told me after my first patient intake. Really good. Whoever trained you knew what they were doing. I had an excellent professor, I said, and my grandmother was a nurse for 40 years. What was her name? Wanda asked. Adelaide Fairbanks. Wanda blinked, then laughed. Honey, everyone in this hospital knows Adelaide. She helped train half the senior staff. That woman is a legend. A warm glow spread through my chest. There was a bouquet of sunflowers waiting in the break room from my grandmother with a note. To my granddaughter, on her first day, I have always been proud of you. Always. My first real patient was an elderly woman, 68, chest pains, alone and frightened, gripping the bed rails so hard her knuckles had gone white. I took her hand. I am Cassidy, I said. I am going to be right here with you through all of this. You are not alone. Her grip loosened, her breathing slowed, and this was why I chose nursing. Not for the money, not for the prestige. For this, for being the one who stays when someone is having the worst night of their life. Titles do not measure a life. The people you carry do. I was exactly where I belonged. 3 months later, my life looked completely different. I had a job I loved, colleagues who respected me, an apartment that was finally starting to feel like home, and my grandmother, who came for tea and stories every Sunday. As for my family, my father still had not called, not once. I was not surprised. Everett Beckett did not apologize. He simply waited for problems to disappear, and I was done disappearing. My mother texted occasionally, short and hollow. How are you? Thinking of you. Never an acknowledgement of what happened. Never an apology, I answered politely, briefly, and nothing more. But Sienna surprised me. She called every Sunday, right before my grandmother arrived. We would talk for 20 minutes, sometimes longer. She told me she was reconsidering Harvard. Looking at schools closer to home, she asked about my patients, my shifts, my actual life. She never once brought up our parents. I want to understand you, she said one Sunday. Not the version of you I thought I knew. The real one. It was not perfect. We had years of distance to cross, but she was trying, and that meant something. The Beckett family was not healed. Maybe it never would be. But I had stopped waiting for that healing to arrive from anyone but myself. I set new rules. I would answer if they reached out, but I would not chase their approval. I would show up to family events if I was actually invited, but I would not tolerate being disrespected. I would love them from a distance if that was what it took to keep my own peace. Boundaries were not punishment. They were how I kept myself whole. And for the first time in my life, I was putting myself first. Sometimes on quiet evenings, I sit on my little balcony and watch the city lights come on. And I think about the road that brought me here. 4 years of working myself to the bone, trying to earn a love I should have been given for free. One night of public humiliation that could have broken me. And one decision that changed everything. The decision to stop pretending I was invisible. Here is what I learned. If you take nothing else from my story, your worth does not depend on whether anyone else can see it. The people who are supposed to love you unconditionally sometimes simply cannot, and that is not your failure. It is theirs. Boundaries are not revenge, and they are not cruelty. They are the line between what you will accept and what you will not, between who you are and who other people want you to be. And real family, the people who show up, who see you, who hold your hand through the worst nights, sometimes shares your blood and sometimes does not. I did not beat my parents that night at the bellwether. I did not need to. I just stopped losing myself to them, and that was the only victory I was ever after. My phone buzzes, a text from Sienna. Sunday call still on? One from my grandmother. Made your favorite cookies, bringing them tomorrow. And one from Wanda at work. That patient from last week asked about you. Said you were an angel. Thought you should know. I smile, a real smile, the kind I could not remember having before all of this. My father wanted me to be invisible. My mother wanted me to stay quiet. I refused, and that made all the difference. Titles fade, and so does the applause in a room full of people who never really saw you. But the people you carry, they remember. If any part of this reached you tonight, stay a while, and I will see you in the next one.